Sahih al-Bukhari 941. Narrated Saul. We used to offer the Jumu'ah prayer with the Prophet and then take the afternoon nap. Sahih al-Bukhari 942. Narrated Shu'aib. I asked Az-Zuri, did the Prophet ever offer the fear prayer? Az-Zuri said, I was told by Salim that Abdullah bin Umar I had said, I took part in a holy battle with Allah's messenger in Najd. We faced the enemy and arranged ourselves in rows. Then Allah's messenger stood up to lead the prayer and one party stood to pray with him while the other faced the enemy. Allah's messenger and the former party bowed and performed 2 prostrations. Then that party left and took the place of those who had not prayed. Allah's messenger prayed 1 rak'ah with the latter and performed 2 prostrations and finished his prayer with taslim. Then every one of them bowed once and performed 2 prostrations individually. Sahih al-Bukhari 943. Narrated Nafi. Ibn Umar said something similar to Mujahid, saying, whenever Muslims and non-Muslims stand face to face in battle, the Muslims can pray while standing. Ibn Umar added, the Prophet said, if the number of the enemy is greater than the Muslims, they can pray while standing or riding, individually, but. Sahih al-Bukhari 944. Narrated Ibn Abbas. Once the Prophet led the fear prayer and the people stood behind him. He said Takbir, Allahu Akbar, and the people said the same. He bowed and some of them bowed. Then he prostrated and they also prostrated. Then he stood for the second rak'ah and those who had prayed the first rak'ah left and guarded their brothers. The second party joined him and performed bowing and prostration with him. All the people were in prayer but they were guarding one another during the prayer. Sahih al-Bukhari 945. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah. On the day of the Khandak Umar came, cursing the disbelievers of Quraysh and said, O Allah's apostle! I have not offered the Asr prayer and the sun has set. The Prophet replied, by Allah! I too, have not offered the prayer yet. The Prophet then went to Budhan, performed ablution and performed the Asr prayer after the sun had set and then offered the Maghrib prayer after it. Sahih al-Bukhari 946. Narrated Ibn Umar. When the Prophet returned from the Battle of Al-Azab, the Confederates, he said to us, none should offer the Asr prayer but at Bani Qurayza. The Asr prayer became due for some of them on the way. Some of them decided not to offer the Salat but at Bani Qurayza while others decided to offer the Salat on the spot and said that the intention of the Prophet was not what the former party had understood. And when that was told to the Prophet he did not blame any one of them. Sahih al-Bukhari 947. Narrated Anas bin Malik. Allah's messenger offered the far prayer when it was still dark, then he wrote and said, Allah Akbar. Khaybar is ruined. When we approach near to a nation, the most unfortunate is the mourning of those who have been warned. The people came out into the streets saying, Muhammad and his army. Allah's messenger vanquished them by force and their warriors were killed, the children and women were taken as captives. Safiya was taken by Dihya al-Kalbi and later she belonged to Allah's apostle who married her and her mar was her manumission. Sahih al-Bukhari 948. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar. Umar bought a silk cloak from the market, took it to Allah's messenger and said, O Allah's messenger! Take it and adorn yourself with it during the Eid and when the delegations visit you. Allah's messenger replied, this dress is for those who have no share in the hereafter. After a long period Allah's messenger sent to Umar a cloak of silk brocade. Umar came to Allah's messenger with the cloak and said, O Allah's messenger! You said that this dress was for those who had no share in the hereafter, yet you have sent me this cloak. Allah's messenger said to him, sell it and fulfill your needs by it. Sahih al-Bukhari 949, 950. Narrated Aisha. Allah's messenger came to my house while 2 girls were singing beside me the songs of Buth, a story about the war between the 2 tribes of the Ansar, the Khazraj and the Aus, before Islam. The Prophet lay down and turned his face to the other side. Then Abu Bakr came and spoke to me harshly saying, musical instruments of Satan near the Prophet? Allah's messenger turned his face towards him and said, leave them. When Abu Bakr became inattentive, I signaled to those girls to go out and they left. It was the day of Eid, And the black people were playing with shields and spears, so either I requested the Prophet or he asked me whether I would like to see the display. I replied in the affirmative. Then the Prophet made me stand behind him and my cheek was touching his cheek and he was saying, "Carry on. O Bani Arfida," till I got tired. The Prophet asked me, "Are you satisfied, is that sufficient for you?" I replied in the affirmative and he told me to leave.